Anglo Saxon law and order is pretty thorough and a super interesting topic, so this one might take a little bit longer. Remember, this is one of the king's key responsibilities, and basically there are three elements to it: catching criminals, putting them on trial, and then punishing the guilty. So, catching criminals. Firstly, there's no police. None of the things that we're used to in modern society are around to help catch criminals. There's no cameras, no fingerprints, no DNA evidence and stuff like that. So they have to be creative with the resources at their disposal, which is basically people. People, everyone, was responsible for catching criminals in two ways. First, there was the tithing, which is a group of 10 men over the age of 12 who were responsible for each other. If one committed a crime, the others had to hand him over to the shire reeve. If they didn't, everyone got fined. Heavily. So they made each other responsible for everyone's behaviour and making sure you all stuck to the law. It's like giving a whole class detention when someone's phone goes off and no one owns up to it. Everyone was responsible for the people in their tithing's behaviour. Second, there was something called the hue and cry. If someone was the victim or witness to a crime, they had to raise the alarm, the hue and cry, shout as loud as possible, get everyone's attention, raise the alarm. Everyone in earshot of that then has to immediately down tools, stop what they're doing, and chase the criminal until they're caught. If you don't, you're also fined. So, imagine there's a thief in a village, someone's stolen something from a village. Everyone has to stop what they're doing and give chase. So what happens next? Well, trials. There are different types of trials at this time, and the shire reeve, or sheriff, or just the reeve if it's a small crime, would put accused criminals on trial, and to begin with, they would be a jury trial. Now, we have jury trials today, but they're different. Today, a jury is a randomly collected group of 12 people who have to be impartial so they can judge the case fairly. They should have no knowledge of the people involved, so they can't be biased or unfair. Back then, it was the opposite. They had a jury of people who needed to know both the accuser and the accused. Who is accusing someone of being a criminal and who is being accused of committing a crime. They would weigh up the evidence, which was usually just eyewitness accounts and rumours, and judge whether or not the person was guilty. Now, if there wasn't much evidence, this is where their knowledge of the people involved would help. They could judge based on their character. So if the person who's been accused of stealing something from the village was known to be an untrustworthy liar, they might convict them just based on their knowledge of that person, even if there isn't much evidence. This is why the jury needed to know the people involved. But sometimes they might not be able to make a decision. In times like this, who was the ultimate judge of right and wrong? God. So they put it in God's hands. These were called trials by ordeal, and they would put the accused through some sort of test and judge whether or not God found them guilty or not. So a common example of this was a trial by hot water. They would make the accused plunge their hand into boiling water to grab an object, and then it would be bandaged up. When it was unbandaged, a few days later, if the wound was healing nicely and calmly, it would be seen that God has found them innocent. It was a sign of his mercy and his justice. But if the wound was becoming infected and it wasn't healing, then God was clearly judging them guilty and punishing them. The same went for a trial by fire, where they would grab a red-hot item like an iron rod for 3 seconds, and the same rules applied. If it healed, innocent. If it became infected and horrible, guilty. These trials help show us the power and influence of the church. Ultimately, God was the judge of the people, and when the king or the court couldn't provide an answer, the church did. So, imagine our thief from the village has been caught, he's been found guilty at one of these trials. What happens next? Well, punishing criminals and keeping law and order are key parts of the king's role, remember, and punishments needed to be severe enough to put others off. Again, there's a couple of options. First, you've got physical punishment. So crimes like stealing would have been heavily fined and you'd have your hand chopped off. This was a warning to others and pretty cheap to enforce. Amputations and mutilation like this was a common punishment at the time. A reoffender, for example, somebody who's committed a crime, been punished and gone on to commit more crimes, could be punished really severely by having an eye cut out, or both of them. Most seriously, some crimes, like betraying your lord, could be punished by death. This is called capital punishment. On top of this, there was another type of justice called the Weregeld, or Weregeld. This means blood price, and this is where you paid the victim, or their family, directly for death or injury. So, for example, killing a noble had the cost of 300 shillings. So, of course, something that only really another noble could afford. And a churl was 100 shillings. So if you've been involved in the death of someone, rather than be put to death yourself or be punished yourself, you could pay the blood price. Different body parts, if they were injured, also had different amounts. So injuring a shoulder was worth 30 shillings. Cutting off someone's thumb was worth 20. These methods of punishing crimes were meant to act as strong deterrents, big fines that were hard to pay, and brutal punishments like amputations or even death to put people off. This was easier than running prisons, which were expensive and took up resources.